Hello, this is Uday. In this video, we are going to understand the basics of Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is one of the leading cloud service providers in the current date. So through this video, we are going to understand what are the benefits of Microsoft Azure, how it is actually helping most of the companies throughout the globe in order to ease their businesses. Before we start learning about the Microsoft Azure, let's try to understand what is the cloud computing first and the types of cloud services, who are the popular cloud service providers in the market in the current date, and we will have an introduction of Microsoft Azure and then some popular Microsoft Azure services. So let's start one by one. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is nothing but providing a services through the cloud. So let's try to understand this concept. So let's assume there is a startup company which wanted to start a business. In order to start the company, what are the basic requirements that would require is we would actually have the operating systems, the server in order to maintain the data and the database, different software applications which need to be installed on each and every computers that we have in the company, and then the virtual machines in order to operate multiple operating systems, application services, and then a powerful network we would require in order to share the applications and the data across the company. So these are all the physical entities that would require in order to keep the company work in an efficient manner. Besides this, the company also have to look into their product, the creativity into the product. So the company is consuming a lot of time, cost, and resources in order to manage all this entity and run a smooth business. So which is a highly painful job. So in order to avoid these kind of circumstances, some companies have come up with some services where they will provide all this environmental or the infrastructure services like the virtual desktop, the software platform, the servers, the database, the storage, everything. So the company can access all these services just by logging to a website of the provider. Okay, so the company would just require a running internet services and a website login in order to avail all these services, and they can run their business smoothly. This made the job easy for a company in order to run their company more efficiently and just bother about their product creativity and increasing their business, and they don't have to look after the virtual desktop or managing software applications, their licenses, the servers, and the storage, the database versions. So all these services are managed by other providers, which we can just avail by just logging to the provider's website. So this is the basic concept of cloud computing, wherein the company is removing their dependencies on managing all the infrastructural services. So let's try to understand what is the definition of cloud computing. Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet to offer faster innovations, flexible resources, and economies of scale. You typically pay only for the cloud services you use, helping you lower your operating cost, run your infrastructure more efficiently, and scale as your business needs change. So let's try to understand what are the services that are being provided through the cloud computing. So there are three types of cloud services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then the software as a service. So let's have a look at this example. It has been categorized the services based on what type it has fallen into. The first block consists of infrastructure as a service, the second block consists of platform as a service, and the third block consists of the software as a service. And the blue highlighted ones are the ones services that we as a company are managing, and the yellow ones are the one that are managed by the cloud providers. Okay, so in the first block, what we see as a infrastructure as a service, the cloud provider only supports the infrastructure part, and all the other part are being managed by the home company, like the virtualization, the servers, the storage, and the networking. These all infrastructure things are being managed by the provider, and we as a company, and we are only managing the applications, the data, the runtime, the middleware softwares, and the operating system. We are managing at our end. So these are some sort of the partial cloud service providers. And then coming to the next block, what we see as a platform as a service. In addition to the infrastructure, cloud providers also provide the support for middleware softwares, like the software that are used for building applications like the languages Java or .NET application, and then the SQL Server application, and then the operating systems like Windows, Linux, some sort of runtime applications are being provided by the cloud providers. We only look into the applications and the data part. Now coming to the third block, what we see as a software as a service. These services are entirely managed by the cloud providers, and we as a company will only look into having analytics on these services and ease our business by entirely getting the service from the cloud providers. Even the applications and the data are being managed by the cloud providers. So I hope we are clear with the types of cloud service providers. And then now look at who are the popular cloud service providers in the market. So there are multiple cloud service providers in the market, namely Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Oracle, Google Cloud, Salesforce, Alibaba Cloud, and then IBM Cloud, and so on. So we can avail the cloud services from any of these cloud service providers. Now let's look at the Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure is one of such cloud service provider which is offering a huge amount of cloud services which are helpful for all the companies throughout the globe in order to ease their businesses. So let's look at the introduction of Microsoft Azure. The Microsoft Azure is Microsoft's public cloud platform. Azure offers a large collection of services which includes platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and managed database service capabilities. We have just gone through the infrastructure and platform as a service and software as a service in the previous slides. So Azure services and resources include storing your data and transforming it depending on your requirements. And Azure provides more than 200 services that are divided into 18 categories. These categories includes computing, networking, storage, Internet of Things, migration, mobile analytics, container, artificial intelligence, and other machine learning, integrations, management tools, developer tools, security, databases, and so on. So these are the wide range of services that are being provided by Microsoft Azure, and it is free to start and follows a pay-per-use model, which means you pay only for the service you opted. So it is free to start availing the services from the Microsoft Azure. Like we can get a free trial for 30 days in order to avail the services, and then after the trial subscription ends, we can avail the services based on the pay per use model. Let's try to understand what is the pay per use model here. Assume we are a company XYZ, and then we are looking on to start up a business which includes the servers and the databases and so on. What we were thinking is, like, if we are going on with on-premises environment, that means we are not availing services from any of the cloud providers, and we are just managing entire thing from ourselves. What we would manage is, let's assume we would require a somewhere of 500 GB of data, in order to store all our database. But this 500 GB data cannot be consumed entirely in the first month, right? In the first month, we are consuming only, let's say, 100 GB of data, and then in the second month, we are consuming another 100 GB of data, and then in the third month, let's say our data is exceeds and we are consuming somewhere around 200 GB of data, somewhere like this. So in the first month, even if we do not consume the entire 500 GB data, but we are still keeping it available for our services, since getting the data and the servers repeatedly would not be an easy job when the company is managing all the things at their end. So coming to the cloud computing process, the pay as you go services are nothing but, so you don't need to maintain the entire 500 GB of data and function accordingly. What you can do is you can just, if you are availing the services from, let's say, Microsoft Azure, the payment would be based on, let's say, monthly basis. And in the current month, if you are consuming only 100 GB of data, then you will only be paid for 100 GB of data itself. And let's say in the next month, if you are consuming, let's say, 200 GB of data, then you can only pay for the excess 200 GB of data. This way we can minimize our cost. So we would only need to increase our spendings if we have requirement. So in the on-premises environment, what we used to do is, even we do not have a requirement of 500 GB in the current day, we might have a requirement in the future. But what we did is we bought the entire 500 GB of data storage and kept it used, so that somewhere in the future we will be accessing the entire 500 GB of data, and then every month we will be going on increasing the consumption of data. But on the cloud computing side, what we see, if you are consuming only 100 GB of data, you are going to pay only for that consumption. So this is what we say pay per use model in the Microsoft Azure, which is very useful in order to ease the business and manage the cost effectively. So let's try to understand why the Microsoft Azure is quite popular. So let's try to see the benefits of Microsoft Azure. Azure supports a wide range of programming languages, frameworks, operating systems, databases, and devices, allowing enterprises to leverage tools and technologies they trust. So it has a wide range of services that we can see, like which includes programming languages, frameworks, and operating systems, databases, and so on. Azure supports multiple programming languages like Java, .NET JS, and then C Sharp, and so on. So globally, 90% of Fortune 500 companies are using Microsoft Azure to drive their business. So 90% of companies are trusting Microsoft Azure as a perfect partner for availing the cloud services. The Azure Functions is a serverless solution that allows you to write less code and maintain less infrastructure and save on cost. So this is again reducing the dependency on the coding part, and it is making the enterprises ease their job by maintaining less infrastructure and saving on the costs. So these are some benefits of Microsoft Azure, which a lot of enterprises are choosing in order to use Microsoft Azure services. These are the vast range of platform services that Microsoft Azure are providing. Like in the computing, it has cloud services and batch, remote app. In the web app, mobile applications, it is providing a lot of services. In the developer services, it is providing Visual Studios, team projects, Azure software development kits, and so on. From the database part, it is providing SQL databases and SQL data warehouses, and so on. So there is a wide range of services that are being provided by the Microsoft Azure, which most of the company are trusting in the market today. Let's look at some popular Microsoft Azure services that are highly in demand throughout the globe currently. Those are like Azure SQL databases and Azure DevOps, Azure Logic Apps, Azure Machine Learning, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Active Directory, and then blob storage, Azure Functions, Azure Data Factory is highly popular, and then Azure Backup. So these are some vast range of popular Microsoft services that are in highly demand throughout the globe currently. So that is all about the Microsoft Azure introduction. So we will look into how to avail the services. So we will explore more services from the Microsoft Azure in the future videos. So besides that, we have already published a video on how to create a free subscription of Microsoft Azure. I would recommend you to please watch the video, which is very helpful in order to how to start availing the services of Microsoft Azure. So please hit the like button on this video, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.